All right, let's jump right in and unlock some secrets about the Toronto real estate market. Today, we're taking a deep dive into 20 newsletters from Toronto real estate agent Manoj Atri. So consider this your cheat sheet, whether you're buying or selling or even investing or maybe just renting in Toronto.
You know what's really cool about these newsletters? They give us a real insider perspective, right? Manoj Atri isn't just, talking about the market generally. He's sharing real stories, actual experiences from his clients, which I think makes this information so much more relatable and actionable for our listeners out there.
Okay, so first things first, what's the overall vibe of the Toronto market right now? Manoj seems to be hinting at some interesting shifts happening.
Oh, you picked up on that, huh? One of the big themes that keeps popping up is this impact of increased competition between lenders.
Hmm.
First National, one of Canada's biggest non-bank mortgage lenders, is actually seeing this as an opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
especially after some recent changes to mortgage rules.
Okay, hold on. Can you break that down for me? What kind of mortgage rule changes are we talking about, and how does this whole lender competition thing actually affect anyone who's looking to buy in Toronto?
Yeah, so these new federal policies, what they do is they allow first-time home buyers and people buying, newly built homes to stretch their mortgage payments over 30 years instead of a usual 25. And this could make a huge difference in those monthly payments, right? Potentially making homeownership a bit more accessible.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Lower monthly payments definitely make things feel a little less daunting. But even with these changes, it still seems like affordability is a massive concern in Toronto, right?
You're absolutely right. Minaj, he repeatedly emphasizes that affordability is still a major hurdle. He points out that a significant portion of properties in the city are valued under $750,000, which, in the grand scheme of the Toronto market, that's considered affordable.
Wow, that really puts things into perspective. It makes you wonder what kind of homes are actually available in that price range.
And, remember, assessed value doesn't always equal market value. This is a point that Minot stresses in his newsletter, specifically about Sudbury, but it's relevant in any market, especially
Yeah.
one as, hot as Toronto.
Right, you can't just blindly trust that assessed value. You really need to understand, all those little nuances of property valuation. So it sounds
Yeah.
like working with an agent who really knows the local market is absolutely key.
Absolutely, 100%. And on that note, Manoj also highlights another crucial trend, the influx of temporary residents, which was a big driver of population growth. Well, it's starting to wane. And this could lead to faster price corrections in Toronto compared to other Canadian markets.
So potentially good news for buyers who've been waiting for things to cool down a bit.
Definitely a development worth watching. Now, if we shift gears to the rental market, oh boy, we see
Yeah.
an entirely different set of challenges. Manoj he doesn't shy away from painting a picture of just how tough it can be to rent in Toronto.
Yeah, the stories he shares in his newsletters, they really highlight that struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, almost 25% of tenants in Vancouver are spending half their income on housing. It makes you wonder if Toronto's heading in the same direction.
It's a sobering thought, and it really underscores the desperate need for more affordable rental options in the city. And this desperation, well, it's leading to some creative
You're
solutions.
talking about that landlord in Brampton who converted a bathroom into a bedroom.
Yeah.
Talk about extreme measures, right?
It might sound crazy,
Uh,
but it reflects the reality of this market and the lengths that people are going to in their search for, well, for affordable housing. Of course, Minaj reminds everyone there are rules and regulations, especially when it comes to rental units. Zoning bylaws, you've got building permits, building code compliance, all that jazz.
right, so it's not a free-for-all. Safety and legality are still, paramount
Hmm.
for homeowners and for tenants.
Right. Precisely. Now, let's say you're a homeowner and you're thinking about adding a rental unit to your property. Manoj actually gives some great insights in his newsletters on what to consider.
Okay, hit me with the highlights. What are those key factors that can make or break a rental unit?
All right, separate entrances are huge. You got to have those. Then there's basement ceiling height. Nobody wants to feel cramped, right? In-suite laundry is a huge plus, of course. And then you need to think about separate utility meters and parking options.
Right, it's all about creating that comfortable and functional living space, even within a smaller footprint. Makes sense.
Exactly. These are the details that can really make a difference for potential tenants, especially in a competitive market like Toronto. Okay, now let's dive into the world of mortgages and financing.
Okay, here's where things can get a little complicated, right? Manoj talks about different types of mortgages. High ratio, vendor take-back, portable. It sounds a little overwhelming.
It can be, but it's really essential to to grasp the basics. For instance, a high-ratio mortgage is when you have a down payment of less than 20%, which means you're required to purchase mortgage insurance. And this is important because that insurance, well, it adds to your overall costs.
Okay, so do your research, figure out which type of mortgage actually fits your situation. Manoj also mentioned CMHC, the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, and their various programs.
Right, and those are worth checking out. CMHC offers programs like Portability, which allows homeowners to move or upgrade their properties while potentially reducing their insurance premium costs. And this can be super valuable for those who want flexibility without breaking the bank.
So there are options out there. It's all about finding the right fit. And for investors looking at multi-unit properties, CMHC has a program called Income Property. It offers financing options with some pretty flexible qualifications.
Exactly. Manoj highlights that this program can be a great option for those looking to, invest in the rental market. Now, beyond the numbers and the financial details, let's talk about some of those unique trends that are shaping the Toronto real estate landscape.
Yeah, Manoj seems particularly interested in those skinny houses popping up around the city.
Yeah, those narrow, often tall houses, they're popping up in these like really densely populated areas. They're attracting investors and folks who are seeking, unconventional living spaces. It's a trend that speaks to the evolving needs and preferences of Toronto residents, even amidst these affordability challenges.
It's fascinating how people are getting creative with space and design. It's like a microcosm of, the larger trends we're seeing in this market. Adaptation, innovation, a willingness to think outside that traditional box.
Absolutely. Really highlights just how dynamic the Toronto real estate market is.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm already feeling a lot more informed,
Mm.
thanks to Manoj Atri's insights. But hold on, we got a lot more to unpack here. Let's take a moment to process all this before we dive into the next layer of information. We'll be right back to explore some of those more complex topics and what they really mean for your future in the Toronto real estate game. So stay with us.
Be right back after this. Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about those skinny houses, remember, and how they represent a kind of a shift in how we think about housing in Toronto.
Yeah, it's like they're a symbol of the city's willingness to adapt and try new things, right?
Yeah.
Even when it comes to something as basic as housing.
Exactly. And this whole trend of embracing unconventional housing solutions, it could actually point towards a much bigger change in the Toronto real estate landscape. Manoj hints at this in a few of his newsletters. He talks
Yeah.
about how cities like Vienna have successfully integrated these diverse housing models into their urban fabric
Yeah.
with things like government-supported affordable housing and cooperative housing.
That's interesting. Could Toronto actually embrace some of those European-style approaches to affordability? That would be a pretty major shift from the current system, right?
It would require some pretty big changes in policy and even mindset. But think about the potential benefits. A more resilient and inclusive housing market with a wider range of options to cater to different needs and different budgets.
Yeah, that's a compelling vision. Well, let's be realistic here. Wouldn't overhauling our entire housing system be a massive undertaking?
It would be a big lift, no doubt about it. But even making, incremental changes, like incentivizing the development of more diverse housing types, right? Could have a ripple effect. And remember, Vienna didn't just transform its housing system overnight. It took time, experimentation, and a real commitment to those long-term solutions.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about, what Toronto's housing future could look like if we actually prioritized affordability and diversity. Now, before we get too lost in hypothetical scenarios, let's come back to the present and address something that's probably on a lot of homeowners' minds right now. Mortgage renewals.
Yes, with all the talk about fluctuating interest rates, it's understandable that people are feeling a little anxious about what's to come. But there's good news here too, Manoj points out that they're anticipating a wave of renewals, and they're getting ready to offer competitive rates and options.
So it's not all doom and gloom for those who are facing a renewal.
Not at all. In fact, this could be a really good opportunity for homeowners to renegotiate their mortgage terms and potentially even secure a better rate than they have right now. It's all about being, informed and proactive.
That's reassuring to hear. But what about those who might be, genuinely struggling to make those mortgage payments? Are there any safety nets for them out there?
Absolutely. Manoja really stresses that, lenders they're there to help. They want to find solutions that work for everyone. He suggests reaching out to your lender and exploring options like, mortgage deferrals or maybe loan modifications, especially if you're facing, financial difficulties.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that communication is key. Don't suffer in silence, right? Reach out and see what's possible. Now, shifting gears a bit, one trend that really caught my eye in Manoja's newsletters is this rise of purpose-built rentals. What's the deal with those?
So purpose-built rentals, these are buildings that are designed specifically for renters. They offer those modern amenities and long-term leases. They're a direct response to this growing demand for rental housing in Toronto, and really a sign that developers are recognizing the need for good quality rental options.
So they're not just trying to cram as many units as possible into a converted office building.
Not necessarily. Purpose-built rentals, they often come with perks like on-site gyms,
Well,
communal spaces, even concierge services, things that can really make that living experience so much better, especially for those who are renting, for the long term.
but the question on everyone's mind, right, is are these purpose-built rentals actually affordable for the average renter?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? While purpose-built rentals, they might not be the cheapest option on the market, they do offer a level of stability and predictability that can be, really appealing to renters.
It's like comparing apples and oranges, right? A basement apartment might be cheaper, but a purpose-built rental could offer, more security and peace of mind.
Exactly. And let's not forget about the added value of those amenities and the sense of community that you often find with purpose-built rentals.
Yeah, so it seems like there's a lot happening in the Toronto real estate market, right? From innovative housing models to evolving rental trends and a wave of mortgage renewals on the horizon. It's a lot to keep track of.
It's definitely a dynamic and ever-changing landscape, but Minoja's newsletters, they really do provide a valuable roadmap for navigating it all.
And remember, whether you're buying, selling, investing, or renting, knowledge is power. The
Ooh.
more you understand about the market and all the forces that are shaping it, well, the better equipped you'll be to make those informed decisions that really align with your goals.
Right. Absolutely. And speaking of knowledge, we've covered a lot of ground today, but before we wrap things up, we have one final thought to leave you with.
Okay, so we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into the Toronto real estate market. We've been using those great insights from Manoj Atri, and right before we took a little pause there, we were talking about, the potential for Toronto to maybe adopt a more diverse housing model,
Yeah.
similar to what we see in cities like Vienna.
It's a vision that really sticks with you, right? This idea of a Toronto where housing options are more plentiful and they really cater to a wider range of needs.
Absolutely, but let's get practical here. What steps could actually move Toronto in that direction? I mean, it feels like such a massive undertaking.
Well, Minaj's newsletters, they offer some clues, He talks about the importance of policy changes, changes that actually incentivize the development of different housing types, like townhouses or duplexes or even co-op housing, options that move beyond that single-family home model that dominates so much of the city.
It makes you wonder if those skinny houses we were talking about earlier, if they could be a sign of things to come. This shift towards more creative and space-efficient housing solutions.
Exactly. It shows that people are open to new ideas. And remember, Vienna's success, it didn't happen overnight. It took a combination of government support, community engagement, and a willingness to experiment with new approaches.
So it's a multifaceted challenge that requires action from policymakers and developers and residents, everyone. It's not just about building more housing. It's about building the right kind of housing for a diverse population.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. And on that note, think about the role that you can play in shaping Toronto's, housing future. It might feel a little overwhelming, but even small actions, they can make a difference.
Like what? Give me some examples.
Okay. Well, Start by just staying informed, right?
Yeah.
Informed about housing policies and proposed developments in your neighborhood.
Mm.
Engage in conversations about affordability, and support organizations that advocate for those diverse housing options.
So it's about using our voices and our votes
Hmm.
to really advocate for the kind of city that we want to live in. Makes sense.
Exactly. And it's not always about those big grand gestures. Even simple things like, supporting local businesses that cater to renters, or advocating for more green spaces in your community. Those things can contribute to a more livable and inclusive city.
Yeah, it's about creating a ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
Starting with those small actions that collectively can lead to meaningful change.
Precisely. Remember, we all have a stake in this, whether you're a homeowner or a renter or an investor, or just someone who cares about the future of Toronto. Your voice matters.
Well said. This deep dive into the Toronto real estate market has been really eye-opening. We've explored the challenges, the opportunities, and even glimpsed a potential future where housing is more affordable and diverse and sustainable.
It's a complex and ever-changing landscape for sure. But thanks to Manoj Aitri's, insights, we're all a little bit better equipped to navigate it.
And that's what it's all about, right? Empowering ourselves with knowledge and understanding
Right.
so that we can make those informed decisions
Yeah.
and contribute to a better future for our city. Thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery